Hello and welcome to Dave's painting tutorials, where he teaches you everything you need to know. Absolutely being sarcastic, because I have this awful habit of stopping midway through a sentence. Currently doing the pack that comes along with the mini box. It's invisible crates, coffins. Once you paint them, you can see them. Yeah, don't give up your day job. You're no comedian. Okay, early in the morning. Another one of them, did I sleep or did I not sleep? And then you look at your watch and you get like 5 hours. And you know yourself, that's not 5 hours straight sleep. You're probably about 20-30% at deep sleeping. The rest is just light. Okay, so the reason why I'm actually doing these coffins and chests and stuff, because we're playing the Curse of Strahd, and I just realised I have these minis or models and I'm not utilising them. Just doesn't make sense. So I put a couple of things on the back burner that I had on the go. That was some of the models for Ymir's Pass module that I'm writing. Obviously fan made, but there's things going on in the back of my mind where I'm thinking what to do with it over the long run. I have an idea. If you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm putting blue tack onto the top of my printer refill syringes. Because every single day when I'm doing this type of stuff, I'm walking away with painted hands, actually painted face, as somebody in the shop pointed out to me. Mister, you've got something stuck to your face that it looks like paint. I remember when I was them kids' age, you wouldn't even have looked at an adult and said that to him. I'm hearing a lot of people saying, yeah, that's because you were scared. No, it was something to do with fear. It was absolute respect. You're looking at older generations who had lived through the Troubles, as I had, because I'm that generation. I was born in the 70s. I was born in 70, on 70. So, yeah. we just, I don't know what it was. We just, the older generation, you know. I don't know where we got it from or instilled from. Maybe it was our own parents, because my parents were, would be considered old compared to others. I remember my teacher saying to me one day, your granny was up visiting. I was looking at him going, what? Thinking his head was half cut. What's he on about, your granny? Trying to work out. My granny would have been, she lived to 100, nearly 100. So I was at school, what, 30 plus years ago. So granny would have been 70s. And what age would my mum be? God, I'm terrible over years. So let me see, 85. So, oh my God. So she would have been 50s? Yeah, okay. When I think about it logically, when I sit and put it out to myself like that, it absolutely makes sense that the teacher was confused. I totally get it. Your granny was up, basically, was my mum, because she would have been, what, in her 50s. So he's expecting her daughter to have had me. But my mum was older than your average woman when she had me, in her 40s. She was telling me all the stories about the doctors and all going, oh, you'll have to abort. Oh my God. Can't have a baby at your age. My man's looking at him going, what? What's he on about? This, that, and the other, diabetes and blah, blah, blah. But she did suffer. Without a shadow of a doubt, she suffered. She ended up with, can't remember any of it, gestational diabetes or something, and all this terrible pains. Because she was telling me it was no easy going with me. See them birds not on my window and looking in. Yeah, so that threw me about whenever he says your granny was up. Yeah, lo and behold, I didn't tell her when I went home, because I can tell you now, I'd have been fine. No, she wouldn't have said a thing to me. She'd have just smiled and went, is that right? And said, there's a type of woman that the next day her coat will be on, oh, I'm going up to your school, are you okay, Al? And you're going, you're not going, we're nearly at the school. You don't want your friend seeing your mum having to take you to school. But yeah, she left you at the gate and then walked into the teacher's room and said, you're a funny man. She would have went to town. Got an example. Something totally erroneous. Like, I mean, when I think back now, I'm like, my God, were they even targeting me when I was such a young lad? That they couldn't. That's beyond the pale. That, like, but the more I think about it. But anyway, so I'd got expelled. Teacher threw. I'd failed to get it the report card signed because the teacher had left the room early. Left all our cards on the desk, and when Ed went to pick up the report card, because the teacher was away, he was like, "God, he didn't even sign it, for God's sake." That's me in trouble now, you know, because they give you a hard time the next day when you go into your forum. Yeah, so I failed to get the report card signed because the teacher left early and left him sitting on the table, and I picked mine up. And funny enough, there was another guy there. I think his name was it Al McKillop? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think it was. And his was signed, strangely enough, but mine wasn't. So when I went into school the next day, brought up my report card, let him see. He says, "Why is that not signed? You bunked off." And I mean, I'm standing in a class full of people, and that one of them goes, "No, sir, who was in the class? I was sitting beside him." Nope. So next thing he starts bawling and shouting. I mean, seriously. I actually had to double look at him. That's probably what pissed him off. Really enraged him more. I was going like, "Jesus Christ, what's going on? Get out of the wrong side of bed this morning." I never said I was thinking it. I was too scared to speak at this point because the rage in him, it looked like he had knocked your blocking. So, yeah, I just let him get on with it. And then I was saying, "Sir," I tried to explain to him, "Sir, Mr. Campbell, he had left early and he had to leave, and he didn't sign mine. Sir, I don't know, you tell me, you know. I mean, you would have to speak to your teacher," but no, my God, he lost the plot. But anyway, he threw the report card in my face. And as soon as he done it, everybody in the class, I remember just hearing, because they knew what was going to happen. And I was like, so disrespectful, even at such a young age. What was it, 14? Yeah. Such a young age. I just could not have anybody doing that to me. I don't care who they are, what age, what they're armed with. There's like I don't know if it's an issue that I might have. Well, to be honest with you, there is talk at the minute that I might be ADHD. I've always suspected some maybe of that ilk, you know. Oh, that's a coffin or a sarcophagus. I was going to paint it, you know, the sandy colour, but then I'm thinking, it's not really Egyptian based. It's more Call of Cthulhu. Horns coming out of the head and stuff. But anyway, so God, I get terribly distracted, don't I? So the reason why I'm doing these chests also is because they can be used as temporary coffins. To be honest with you, I haven't read far enough ahead to even know how many coffins are. Yeah, so I got expelled anyway. So he threw the card on the ground and he told me to pick it up, and I went, "You have absolutely no chance, mate. I don't care." In my head, like, I just walked away. But in my head, I went, "I'm not lifting it up." He hands it to me like a human being. That's the problem with kids today, because they're not treated properly. You know? They're treated like pariahs often because they've got issues or neurodivergency or whatever. And damn, I need more blue tack and pots. I'm doing the crates a light brown because they are crates, but they can also double up as coffins, if need be. Yeah, where was it? Anyway. Yeah, so got expelled, get sent home. Mum's like, what? What'd you get expelled for? Third card, blah, blah, blah. Well, what did you do to warrant that? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? The teacher said to you, you done wrong. And I'm like, yeah. And she went, and she tells you what you done wrong. Did you accept that? And I looked at her going, did you not hear me? I don't care what I done wrong. He threw a report card in my face and he told me to pick it up off the ground. And I refused to be treated like it. And she went, yeah, but I get that. But I want to know why you done it. Was it justified? And then I told her, well, Mr. Campbell, blah, 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 he wasn't in, so I didn't get my report cards. Well, he was in, but he had left early and I didn't get it signed. And she went, did you try and get it signed? Here's me, yeah, I actually chased him out the door, but he says he had to rush. It looked like he had some sort of family issue, which I totally get. You know, if it is a family issue, who gives a shit about a report card? So Mum was just listening. And then the next thing she turned around and she says, so he wants me to do what? Here's me, well, he took me over to the head teacher, or would have been your head, God, what would they call him? Principal, you know, the principal of the school. And he said, well, we think we should get an apology for this type of attitude. Here's me, what, sir, Mr. Salters, what type of attitude? The teacher threw the report card in my face and told me to pick it up because it didn't get signed. I told him why. He didn't even go and investigate why with Mr. Campbell. I totally get it if I'd done something wrong, but you know, or maybe he's just getting at me because maybe I've got too easy a life. You know, I want to make it harder for you. So anyway, Mr. Salter says, oh, well, here, give this note to your mother. So I give the note to my mum. And I'll be honest with you, I've got a wee confession. I didn't give her the note for about 3 or 4 days because A, I was enjoying being expelled because I pretended to go to school and then just get off at the local forest, run about the forest, playing with sticks, basically LARPing with myself at 14. But anyway, so the note, I wish I'd have kept all this. It would have been great to look back at. Your son, blah, 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 didn't get a report card, he was very cheeky to Mr. O'Brien, blah, 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 blah. Oh, Andy grabbed me by the scruff. Whenever I said I wouldn't pick the report card off the ground that he threw at me, I went back and sat in my chair. He grabbed me out of my chair, trailed me up a room, tried to force me to pick it up, and I went, politely, sir, go and jump. Trailed me out in the hall, bounced me off the wall, trailed me up the hall, over to Mr. Salters, the head form teacher. Now, I know you're probably thinking, oh, maybe he deserved it. Guys, there's, at 14 years of age, there's a grown man throwing you up and down a hall. That was the standard that we lived with, you know, of our teachers. They weren't, they you know, I can understand a teacher having a bad day, and I always give my teachers a pass. Because, I mean, having to teach delinquents while there was bombs and guns going off, bombs and bullets being fired and blown up. So I'm sure I had enough worries. But anyway, so my mum's like looking at this and she says, he wants me to apologise for you. And I went, yeah. And he says, son, you're not going to understand this now, but in years to come, and See, when I think about it now, Jesus, she had some understanding of reality and concept of the future, because now she's gone out of my life, past, and I think about what she said, I'm like, wow. She basically says, should that be wood or stone? Man, that should be stone. I'm about to bloody do that a wood colour because I'm a lazy shit. Where's my stone, in fact? So yeah, I got sidetracked again, didn't I? Where was I? My mother's attitude is, if you have not done anything wrong, you will be defended to the utmost. So anyway, she, after a couple of days of me being afraid to tell her, they give her the note anyway to explain to her that teacher wants me to apologise, or wants you to apologise for me. So anyway, she explained to me, that's where I was, sorry I got distracted again. She explained to me at the time, says, this is nothing to do with you, son. What's happening? And I'm like, what do you mean? Here she was, see, what this letter basically says isn't your son's a little shit, could you apologise? What this letter actually says is you're a terrible mother and you've raised a terrible son. And I'm looking at her, and you're 14, going, what? Oh, what? What's happening? Is James Bond on? Is Bionic Man on? You mean you have zero interest of what she's talking about? But when I think about it now, well, I've thought about it years ago, and I look back at it and I went, wow. She was always on top of things, knew what was going on. She says, it's actually a letter to me. And I went, what do you mean, Mummy? It's me, it's about me. It's my son, it's nothing to do with you. This is why I ain't going to slap you and give you a good saying to or tell your dad. Because you know what he'll do? I'm going to sort this out myself, son. You leave it with me. And I'm like, oh my God, this is it. I've started something. So I don't find out it was 3 weeks later. No, give it a month. My exams are about to come up. My GCSEs, or what would you call, or that's what they'd be maybe now. They were O levels. Yeah. Something like that. Before they became GCSEs or whatever. And I was projected to do really good in my art, do really good in my science, do really good in my English lit, maths, all that stuff, no interest, bored me to death. Even though I could do it with no problem. But anyway, so this teacher, Mr. D. Arnellis. Now I think about it, and now I'm saying his name, D. Arnellis. Just realised that means doctor. Must have had a PhD, sciences and whatever. Fantastic. I couldn't sing his praises anymore. Probably didn't even like me. One of them teachers. But man, he was a great science teacher. You could just tell when a teacher was really loving what he done. And Mr. D. Arnellis loved science because he really instilled it in us. Yep, so he came down to the house and he was like, Mary, do us a favour, just come on, just apologise. And then I was outside, and I was told to leave the the room, obviously, and I could hear them talking. Here he was, listen, I totally get it. He shouldn't apologise. He told me himself what happened, and see, to be honest with you, I actually believe him. Mary, so he was like on my mummy's side, and he was busting to get me back because he knew in his heart of hearts that science was definitely in my blood, you know. Especially, I think that's because of brother. The brother was big into astronomy, and he had his own telescopes and all, while the rest of the kids in school were rolling up silver paper and rolling up tissue and spitting it at you. John was studying the sky at night, Patrick Moore, all the books. God, he was so into that. Still to this day. These about 4 telescopes. But anyway, so my mummy just, I heard them talking for ages, and it ended up, he explained to her, I hear what you're saying. I know my son needs to get his qualifications, but Dave went out of his way 6 months before his qualifications to make his life in the future hard by not allowing him to get his exams. And D.R. Nellis was like, that's my weather brush. Mary, but if you feel like if you apologise and I was going, Mr. Nellis, you do understand that by apologising I am admitting that I'm a bad mother. I believe my son when he says that the teacher left, didn't fill the form in, and the other teacher, who they happen to be best mates and best buddies, give him a hard time. And then explained him. Says, I know individual families that have sons that done a lot worse, and they're still at school. So I'll tell you what I'll do. You get the teacher to apologise, let him back into school, give him extra time to after school to learn, to get his exams up to scratch. And once they apologise to me, I'll let him back. Cut a long story short, D.R. Nellis said to me that this is the times of your exams. This is your English exam, behind my mother's back. This is your science exam, this is your art exam, all the ones he knew that I would have done pretty well at. And he gave me the list. So I remember by this time my dad found out, you know. He was saying, don't you worry about it, I'll get you a job. I'm 14, talking about putting me on the boats. As a kid, this would have been 1980s, early 80s. And I'm like, but I don't want a job, like, I want to go to school. Nah, you get a job, don't worry about it, get good money. Okay. So anyway, he goes about trying to get me a job. Well, see, to be honest with you, I sort of got the job myself. But anyway, I walked into a couple of places at the top of New Lodge. God, I can't even remember the name of the place. Just asking for jobs. And they were looking at me going, but kid, you're a kid. I'll sweep, I'll clean, I can do this and do that. But I got a job in Connor's window glaze. And I made tea for the young lads. They were joiners. Oh, this is why I hate this. Ah. All top heavy. So yeah, I started making tea for the boys. But anyway, so my exams are coming up, and I knew my exams were coming up, so I done a wee bit of reading. But you know yourself at 14 or whatever, got on 15, you think of yourself, oh, right, I'm out of school now. I got expelled then, there's no point in learning anything, you know. But anyway, I put a wee bit of work into it anyway, and I done my science and I done my art. And that's why I expelled. Teacher didn't know. I didn't know that teacher didn't know. I didn't know that teacher that came down to visit really saw them. I'm putting this kid through. So he gave me my information on when my exams were. So I done well. I done well in science. I think it was a B. My art was expected to do well in my art anyway. And my English I done well. My English lit. It was the only thing I was really interested in because back then, I'll give you a wee rundown. When my mummy used to go down and do the one-armed bandits, she used to take me with me. But I used to think, oh, we're getting a day out with mommy. Great. But the library was next door. So we used to go, you stand here and you read your wee books. I'll be back. And I was like, okay. So I'm in this library. Mum's next door doing the one-armed bandits. Now don't be thinking she was a bad mother. She was brilliant. She just let's say we needed money. We weren't rich. We had issues like everybody else during the time of the Troubles. Very hard to get work. Places were all getting blown up, and I'm sure you catch my drift. She would have been in with the one-armed bandits. I think it was called the Arcade. That's the name of the place. Down in Donegal Street or beside the library. So I give up trying to set them up straight. So when there's a book rack in the library just near the door. I think it's to pique your interest, you know. So I was, if you can imagine, a couple of school tables at the front of the library and me sitting like an idiot. But because my mummy was a member of the library, whenever she left me sitting at the seats, the girls go, oh, that's such girl, she's had to go off and do something, so keep a wee eye on him, you know. So I goes about the bookstand and I sees, oh, this amazing art. I was into art anyway, because I had a friend, Big Mark really. Fantastic artist of his own right, you know. Even at a young age, he was really good. I used to try and copy him. He would have been the brother's age, you know, a couple of years older than me. But I think he just realised that me and him get on well, you know, because I collected tanks, World War II, and I collected airplanes, so with about 100 plus airplanes. So I was been painting since I was about 10, 11 years of age. And and Mark was into Dungeons and Dragons. I would actually point out that he probably brought Dungeons and Dragons to that part of Belfast. He should be given credit for that. Because when when me and him were sitting in his attic playing the games, me, him and Paul, other people would come in and out of our group to play. So they started getting into it, and then they started making their own groups apart from us, you know, away from us. So it spread. Next thing, we joined the Numenor Club, which we'd met a lad, Mervyn. He was a real big Lord of the Rings fan. I was a Hyborian fan. Conan, you know, and the rest were all Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. I need to step back, or actually take you back a bit, because when I was at the library, I seen that beautiful piece of art, and it stuck with me still today. Even when I see it in my head now. It was Conan the Buccaneer, Els Bragg Camp, Lynn Carter, and I had the Frank Frazetta cover. Now I believe there might have been two covers for Buccaneer, because one of the covers that I remembered was not the cover that the cover of. I have all the books now, but it was definitely a different cover. But anyway, I'll see if I can find it and I'll stick it up on the video. So I started reading it. Now at 11 years of age, trying to read Els Bragg Camp, let me tell you, it's a challenge. But I attempted it, and I got so engrossed in it. I mean, I really don't know how long passed. And I remember Mum coming in, she was talking to the girl at the desk, and they were laughing and joking. And I just went, the first time I think I've nicked anything. I felt so bad. You know, one of them ones that lays on your conscience for, I would say, seriously, months. But I know now, looking back, it was probably part of what they're thinking. I might have ADHD, but I'm sure at 11 years of age it probably hadn't manifested. But anyway, I stuck that book down my trousers and I walked out that library like at a limp the whole way home. We didn't get buses, we couldn't afford buses. You may laugh, but quite dear back then. So we had walked home a couple of miles. This is pretty condensed. There was a lot of other stuff that happened, you know. It would make you laugh. But anyway, so I got back, finished that book. That was me from 11 years onwards. Conan. What? You want to talk about Conan? Even the Dungeons and Dragons. I remember people going, seriously, are you playing a barbarian again? Would his name be Conan? Konak? Con? It always had something to do with Conan. But that became the thing then. I became the guy that loved Conan. Mick, he was big in the Elric of Melbourne. Who was big Mark into? I'm trying to think when he was 17, 18, 16, 17, 18. Stranger Things, that's us. See, when I watch Stranger Things, I just go, oh my God, there's all my mates in the attic playing where they're Dungeons and Dragons, and your parents saying it's evil. And I mean, my mother got a priest to intervene. That's another story. Yeah, Big Mark was Kiss mad. The heavy metal band Kiss. Man, he was crazy for that stuff. So, God, where's this story going? I got off on about 10 tangents. What was it? Yeah, so Conan, sucked into Conan. Oh yeah, done my exams. Passed a few of them. Obviously the ones that the mathematics and all of that. I didn't feel it. I think I got a C or D. I can't even remember. But I remember going back to work after my exams. I mean, I was working 14 and a half, 15. I mean, I was getting 20 quid at the end of the week or 10 at the end of the week for cleaning the floor or whatever. But at least I was doing stuff. I did find out years later it was my mum. Mum had went down to the Windows place and said, tell him you wouldn't give him a job. And then in my head, I'd went and got the job. But I found out years later she had put a sneaky word in you behind my back. Give him a job. Yeah, them coffin handles should be gold. I'm just going to do them silver. Nope, definitely not. I want to do them nice. Wonder if them straps would be metal. I'm sure they would. So, yeah, I worked there in a joinery place. I ended up, making windows by the time I'd left it. Yeah, but yeah, the whole point of that story was for my mum to apologise. She would not apologise. Says, David, see, once you start apologising, she did explain this to me. Says, you'll be apologising the rest of your life. And I'm like, yeah, but if you do wrong, says, yeah, but you didn't. I believe everything you say. Because I can tell when you're lying, son. And if I thought you were lying for 1 second, you'd get the hand across your gob. You know, so fair play to her. A lot of parents wouldn't believe their kid. Oh, she did. She was like, no, you're being picked on. But anyway, so I mean, I'm painting. You can't even see what I'm painting. I'm just waffling. So, yeah, that's why I'm a great believer in, you've only got one mum, like, you can have several dads. Sorry, fathers, but it's true. But that our mother. Literally, at that point, I knew, well, I've always known your mum would sacrifice herself at the drop of a hat. There's some mothers that are, would it be that it's their nature to be the way they are? Strong protectors, definitely. Just need to look at the females in nature. What they do for their young. Throwing themselves in the way of lions. I mean, for God's sake. You know that's instant death, like. And the mothers are just piling in front of the lion, trying to protect their young, like. Where's me going off now and flipping history trip? So, yeah, crazy. But, trying to figure out what the hell I was telling you that story. I just thought, do you know what it is? It's playing on my mind. My mum had died at Christmas. She died in the 21st. Oh, the hassle at the church and all of them. Lucky she had family. They'd done a lot of things for her. She always spoke highly of Brendan. That was her nephew. He's a priest. So, and I'm sure he actually, when I think about it, he was probably him got the whole thing sorted out for the church, you know. God love him. So, yeah, mum. So I think she's been playing on my mind. I haven't got up the graveyard. I normally, see, to be honest with you, sister always took me up because it's so far away. And I felt a terrible lot of guilt. I'm sure there's people out there if they hear this, they understand what I'm saying. You don't get up to pay your respect at Christmas like to your mother's grave or your father, even your father's grave, do you know? They're buried together, obviously. Yeah, it plays in my mind. I'm agnostic, but I'm thinking to myself, if I was religious, is that a word? Did I just make a word up? God, these are taking forever. Yeah, so not religious, agnostic. Who am I? I mean, to me, it's like the flag around the circumference of the elephant. By the time the fly's life has ended, you'll have seen a fifth of the elephant. And he would never know. He'd probably know on his deathbed going, oh, I know what that is, it's an elephant. So my attitude is my agnosticism, comes from the fact that growing up in Northern Ireland during the Troubles taught me that, yeah, there's something wrong with religion. These people are killing each other over Protestant and Catholic, but it's not just Protestant and Catholic. There is the dimension of land. But anyway, so I always had that weird belief that, nah, that's not normal dudes to be killing people because of their religion. What the But anyway. So being agnostic, I'm not chasing the whole holy stuff, but I do think you need to respect the dead without a shadow of a doubt, like. So going up to visit them, even if there is nothing after this life, you're just back into the algorithm soup to be reborn again. Oh, so still not getting up to see your person that brought you life, to go and pay respect to them in their death. Oh, it plays heavy on my head, even talking about it now. I'll get round to it when the good weather comes back. We've got a bit of snow and ice. I'll literally walk to the graveyard. I think it's about 15 plus mile. Oh, and by the way, I didn't just leave it like that where I'd only passed a few of my exams because I knew it was going to affect me in the future of trying to get work, you know. I ended up going back and getting my GCSEs, A and Bs in English language, English lit, mathematics. So I basically passed them because I needed them to do certain YTP schemes and all these youth training and all. So alright, I've been 2 years behind because I haven't to go and do the exams again. But then I realised, I have a wee bit of a knack for this academic thing in between the troubles in Belfast and the dark nights and the petrol bombs and the shootings and the bombs. I think, I could do this. So I went back and done A-levels. And then after that I went in and done, what was it, HNC? Yeah, HNC in computer science. And I also done a diploma in life sciences, history, statistics, all that type of stuff. And then I went and done various other things, which I'll go into in another, I'll tell you about my nursing career, excuse me, in my next video. But anyway, that's me done. I've got all the seats done. I'm going to use a bit of silver paint on the coffins and gold handles. Not going to touch them yet because I'm not too sure where my gold paint is. I'll need to go and find it. And the chests, they're all done. Came out okay. Alright, thanks for watching and listening to my waffling. Bye bye.